Tonight on the Star Wars Reporter podcast, we are talking all things the Obi-Wan Kenobi series, a little bit of Star Wars Celebration, and anything else nerdy in Star Wars that we could think of. Coming up next. Episode 88 of the Star Wars Reporter podcast tonight, episode 1 and 2 of the finally released Obi-Wan Kenobi series, which no one ever thought would happen.
Well, you know what, Steve? I remember when I first heard this happen, I was going, okay, sure, it might be good, but I wasn't too big on it. I wasn't overly excited about it. But as time wore on, I seem to get, maybe it's just your influence in doing this podcast was the influence to maybe generate a lot more excitement for it. How we did deep dives in the prequel trilogies, right? And I learned a greater appreciation for the prequels, and I always liked Ian McGregor as Obi-Wan. But as time went on, I was like, the last 6 months or so, I was going like, no, you know what? I'm really excited. Maybe because the Mandalorian series was so good, and maybe because Bad Batch was so good, and maybe because Boba Fett was good, and so maybe it's just okay. Maybe I'm ready for this sort of thing. Got the kind of the Last Jedi taint out of my system, sort of thing.
Right.
And Rise of Skywalker, get all that bad stuff out of there. And so I was really excited about this. And of course, when the trailer came out and the teasers came out, I was even more excited. And I was really excited last night to find out it got released here on the West Coast at 9 p.m. So yeah, I was able to jump in there and view the first two episodes.
Yeah, and we were talking about that before we went live. The fact that some executive might have finally started listening to the fans that were buying tickets and showing up at the Star Wars Celebration on the West Coast, saying, "When this releases, we're all going to be in bed. Release this earlier so then we can watch it, talk about it, and we'll have something to talk about." Because then, I'm not sure. Kind of all the live stuff seems to start at noon for the celebration, so it just made sense. Now going forward, I think you're going to be out of luck. It's going to be midnight. Not that it matters, but
yeah, but only one episode. I can do a half hour, 40 minutes at midnight, not a problem. Although sometimes when you try logging in at that time to watch that certain series, it's buffering because there's so many people jumping on at that time. So sometimes it doesn't work right away. You have to wait 15, 20 minutes. I know that happened when we watched the Marvel series. We had to wait like 15 minutes before it actually would boot up because there's such a big high demand for it. But yeah.
Wow. Yeah. But yeah, it finally dropped. We'll get into Obi-Wan, and we'll try to get into some of the stuff with Star Wars Celebration. There's just it's so much has happened. I wish they would have split. I wish Obi-Wan would have started sooner. Then the celebration would have been a lot easier. But there's just so much to talk about, and we're not going to be here for 6 hours.
Well, I know that's exactly it. Like they seem to just drop everything this week, which obviously goes into the Star Wars Celebration you're talking about here on the West Coast. But you can space it out a little bit, maybe. There's a lot of stuff coming that just got dropped this week, and I know they want to create a buzz for this, and so there's always something to talk about at this celebration. But again, it's okay to pace yourselves and release things as time goes on, right? So it's not just one big drop. Like finally this week we saw Andor series, like the trailer teaser.
Yes.
Right, we were waiting for that for so long because I remember seeing the making of that before they even started Obi-Wan. So that was quite entertaining to watch that. But yeah. Where do we want to start talking? What do we start talking? Do we start talking about Andor's trailer? Do we jump into Obi-Wan?
Why don't we jump into Obi-Wan? Let's jump into Obi-Wan. Let's get into that. I do have the trailers for Andor, Willow, because I have to do Willow.
I know you have to do Willow. I'm not Willow. Whatever. I'm not a sword and sorcery type person. I'm sorry.
Sacrilege.
I went back and watched Willow because you guys pumped it up when it came on Disney Plus. It was decent. But,
I'm not sure if the rumor is true. I didn't look it up, but from what I hear, George Lucas created Willow because he couldn't get the rights for Lord of the Rings. So he was like, I'll make my own fantasy then.
Oh, I didn't. That makes sense, sort of thing.
And I wonder if there's some similar things, right, in the film. It's like, the Nelwyns, and then the warrior that helps him get to go
Mhm.
somewhere. But I guess all fantasy is always like the
There's
group
always
gathers along the way to get to the bad guy at the end,
Yeah,
right?
even like
So
let's look at Beastmaster back in the day. Same thing, right? You're out there, he gathers all his animal friends, and then goes on this quest to save the princess or something, right? So
yeah,
that's what they all are, aren't they?
yeah.
But anyway, back to Star Wars and Obi
Star
Wan.
Wars, Obi-Wan.
Obi Wan. So obviously, we should say that we're gonna be discussing some spoilers. So if you don't want to be
Spoilers.
spoiled, we should probably not. Probably should pause this and watch it, then come back and dissect it with us. No.
No, stay.
So I thought like that's like the very first thing. What do you see? They do a recap, right? Of the prequel trilogy, and I thought they did a really good job. There's really set the tone. Maybe you're not it wasn't you haven't watched it lately, like maybe we have.
Yeah,
I thought they did a really good job setting up the tension between Obi-Wan and Anakin. I thought they did a really good job. Just rehashing it all together, create some excitement. I know when I was watching it, I know it's happening. I know all the stuff on the prequels, but it just made me so excited for the opening credits. For the opening scene,
yeah,
I thought they did a really good job building that up and telling that little story, all the tension um, leading up to the intro of the story.
yeah. I didn't expect that. I didn't think that they would do. When I first saw it, when it came up on the screen, it said recap. Where they give you the option
Yeah,
of skipping,
skip
and
it.
I
Yeah, yeah.
didn't, and I'm glad I didn't, because I was like, oh, they're recapping the prequels. They shouldn't have had a skip for that.
They should have. If you skipped over it, just because they did such a good job of building it up, and it built up perfectly, I thought, into the first scene, which is the opening scene, takes place at the Jedi Temple when Order 66 went through, and if we follow a Jedi who was teaching younglings, right,
Yes,
and all of a sudden.
yes.
Yeah, they're all doing the moves. You're practicing, doing the training, and all of a sudden, clone troopers
Boom.
jump in. What? It's like, oh, I thought that was so because they did a little brief thing on Revenge of the Sith. This is a nice little kind of look behind the scenes, not around Anakin, right? So obviously the Jedi Temple is big. There'd be a lot of Jedi's everywhere. It just showed what was going on. Then they beat up those clone troopers. Then they head out, and there's like hundreds of Jedi's battling thousands of
Yeah,
troopers. It was
yeah.
so good.
And the Jedi that was training the kids when she was kind of getting them out the door and stuff. Uh, Really great fight scenes, and I like to look up who this person is, if they like Dan Inosanto's daughter, who was in The Mandalorian, right? She's got a martial arts background, and but this lady here was so good. And the clone troopers are, we love them, but they're so relentless. They're just like after these kids, right? You have to remember the horror of it. Like when, my oldest daughter, who thought Darth Vader was her boyfriend, and then she sees what Anakin did, and I'm like, yes, that's how he became Darth Vader. And the clone troopers did horrible things. I mean,
Horrible things
it wasn't, you know, it was the
sinking
chips,
in. Yeah,
right?
yeah,
It was the
yeah,
chips, but I thought it was amazing. And then even this scene here, right, when the master gets killed, and the kids have to, like, they're on their own, they're kids, and it's this mayhem happening around them. Look at this,
yeah.
so beautiful, like Jedi's
Well, yeah.
getting killed, and
Well, that's the thing. And troopers getting killed. Like, one thing I want, like, I love that scene, like you're saying, how they say, well, the kids like their master is dead. What do they do? Run, right?
yeah,
Run. And so obviously, which sets up the whole entire Kenobi thing, right? Where obviously these younglings, some are going to not make it, some are going to make it, right? So
right,
that's why there's Jedi spread out, which sets up the Inquisitors, which sets up tracking down the Jedi's because some possibly got away. Also, what I want to bring back is, again, my name's Trooper Todd for a reason, Steve, because I like stormtroopers. Now here you see, we watch Revenge of the Sith, you watch the Clone Wars. There's a lot of troopers there, but they're CGI troopers,
yeah,
right?
yeah,
Here, these troopers, well, they weren't. They look like guys in real suits, and there's something when they're in real suits just makes it look so much better. Like it just moves better. Just they have squibs on it, sparks are flying. It just looks so good.
yeah. When the door opened, in that, I didn't get the picture here, but when the door opened, you could see troopers running by, but then some of them had come in. I mean, there is a huge difference. I mean, we're still not at that point where you can create the CGI to move like a real person. And maybe these, I wish Jen was here. She probably knows if maybe they got the 501st to do that, because these guys know what they're doing on how stormtroopers move and walk and hold their guns and everything, right? So
Well,
looks
imagine
good.
those guys, because there's squibs on them. I'm pretty sure they're stuntmen. I'm pretty sure, because they do have a little explosive on them, so I think they have to have a little bit of
Oh,
training and skill, right? Because anything that's a squib that's blowing up, so it's a little
right.
explosive on you. So there is a bit of danger elements to it. So they probably just wouldn't get anybody, who's a fan of the
Right.
501st. That's just my theory.
I'm
Background maybe, but something like this, a fight scene, because there was some fight scenes and they're moving and that's coordinated. It's probably all rehearsed over and over and over again.
Yeah, probably not many 501st guys are doing like martial arts or hand to hand and
Yeah,
stuff.
because
And
they're getting hit and they're falling. You look at the falls. The falls are good. They're good
yeah,
falls, right? So, and
yeah.
it takes some practice to fall, and make it look good, but also not hurt yourself, right? So
I'm
that's what
good
I'm
at
thinking.
falling,
Yeah,
but
I'm
like in real life,
in
especially
real life.
going upstairs, which
Yeah,
at my age, I guess that's the thing now.
like where did that step go, right? When you're going up the stairs. But
Exactly.
I thought it really set up the whole entire first we had the recap, then you have this scene with clone troopers, and just seeing the clone troopers, the helmet, it just looked so good. I thought it set up the tone, set up the pace really good. It goes then in the next scene, 10 years later, here we are on Tatooine, right? Um,
Exactly. 10 years later. Back, and I know everyone's going, we're back at Tatooine.
Tatooine, but Tatooine's
I
part of
love
Star Wars.
Tatooine. I love Tatooine. And yeah, going back to the scene where we're on Coruscant and they're coming into where you see here where they're training. You missed it. They're kind of doing like a kata and stuff.
Yeah,
But I loved how they're setting it up. It's like you're first looking over Coruscant. It's all quiet. It's all nice and beautiful. And the camera's panning in and over these nice little bushes. And it's this nice little scene of the kids training and then mayhem, right?
and
I
then
just kind
man,
of liked it.
the doors open. So that was like obviously that's the point where Order 66 was just engaged, because all of a sudden it's because like you're saying, it was quiet, peaceful. Like there's no alarms going off, and all of a sudden, boom! It's all at once, right? It was
Yeah.
so. It just had
Yeah.
a nice, really nice pace.
It's so good, yeah. And then we get into that, then it just goes to 10 years later. In my head, I was hearing that SpongeBob thing. 10
Yes,
years
10 years
later.
later. Yes.
That's all I get. So anytime I see something like that where it has a time frame, the meme has ruined it for me, because it's like, 2 weeks later, that's in my head.
Well, actually, in my line of work, sometimes I do things like when I have to do the full page graphic, I always do a funny voice like that too. Always. It's not the same because you can't do the same, but I use different accents sometimes. Like I'll get somebody to do a voice, like sometimes we do somebody screaming, like a German accent screaming, or we just do all these different things. I do it all the time, and it's all because of SpongeBob. I think it's hilarious.
Yes. Oh, yeah, it's so funny. But as soon as I saw that, it's 10 years
10 years,
later.
10 years later, all
So
the time. Yeah,
it just kills me.
yeah, I agree.
So we're on Tatooine. We're starting to see some familiar things from the trailer, right? So you have the Inquisitors show up, and I'm going to make a critique.
Okay.
Not that I'm a talented costume creator or talented in any way in art or anything, but I was really watching, seeing the Grand Inquisitor walking. And I
Mm-hmm.
know people had a problem with the head and stuff like that, but his pants were so baggy and not kind of fluid with the way the rest of the costume is, because he's got the chest piece and everything on it. It looked kind of like he was wearing some MC Hammer pants when he was walking.
It reminds me of in World War II days, and the German soldiers had the big puffs on the side of their pants. That's what it looked like to me.
And I know that's what they were trying to get,
Yeah.
but it almost looked like like the mechanics overalls is underneath, but it just seemed too shiny, puffy for me. But other than that, the guy on the guy on the right, I kind of like his outfit.
Yeah.
Yes, and he looked good. He's the actor was just, I liked his grimace, and
yeah,
he just was always not very happy.
I love it's well, obviously it's not the same Grand Inquisitor from Rebels because he dies.
It
So right,
is. It is.
how can it be the same one? Because he died in Rebels and he died here.
I'm
How
sure
does
that
that
I
happen?
heard something on this where they were saying that some canon might be adjusted. So now, if he's alive somehow, I was talking to James earlier, and he thinks that he's going to survive, etc. Maybe,
Well, I guess
maybe,
he just got stabbed through the torso,
yeah.
so I guess you could survive that.
But I think what's going to happen is when the rest of the Inquisitors find his body or catch up, she's going to be going, Kenobi did this, because I mean,
Yeah,
it's a lightsaber, and he got
lightsaber.
away, blah blah blah. So, uh, and then if he was to not be dead, then her character's over. Like that's it. Unless I'm not going to get into that, but
We
uh,
jumped far ahead, but yeah, we're not
I don't
going
want
in
to go
order
too
anyway.
far.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah, I
I
think
had no
it's
problem. I know he doesn't have the big cone head like he did in the show, but I had no problem with that. I love the teeth. I love the fact that the top teeth are sharp and spiky, and the
mm,
bottom teeth are kind of plain. I thought the actor was good. I like the eyes. Apparently, the actor didn't even watch the Rebel series. He just based it off his own performance. He didn't watch what the previous person did in the animation show.
right,
So that's why I think I
right.
read somewhere. But yeah, but again, I had no problem with the character. He seemed like a lot nicer than she was. Right when they go into the bar, right? They go into that little cantina first, right? Little
Right.
restaurant sort of thing, and they were kind of like she was like throwing knives at somebody, and like the
It's
other the
brutal.
other Grand Inquisitor had to use the Force to stop the knife from impaling somebody, and yeah,
Yeah.
she was
It
nasty.
it seems weird to me. It seemed like it's almost like the Inquisitors were trying to be more calm in their evil, because it was almost like the Empire's trying to kind of win over the
Yes,
populace,
that's what.
and so they were like, well, we can't be brutal. We want to be, but we have to be nice. And Riva was just like 110 guns blazing right
Yeah.
away at every scene, because it's the impatience, I guess, where she just wants to get it done.
Well, apparently the
And
dark side, she's perfect for the dark side, isn't she? Right? Like
yeah,
anger and impatience, and not waiting. Where the other ones, like I agree, Steve. I thought they set up really well. They're trying to gaslight the whole entire area that we're not terrible people. We just want to get rid of the Jedi because the Jedi are bad, sort of thing, right? Like they turned on the Republic. They turned, what I'm saying? They
yeah.
turn on like they're trying to play that, hey, you know what? We're not terrible. We're trying to, but
And
she's dialed up to 11. That
I
one.
know, but at the same time, with that attitude, we're like, oh, we're just trying to be nice to you, and if you happen to make us hurt you, then that's your fault.
Yeah.
That's the whole attitude, which is kind of funny, right? It just
Yeah.
it
I even like the fact that they're there and the whole thing when they said, we'll start lopping things off. We'll start with your hands. So every time you reach for something, you remember it. Like, that was the old
well,
lady.
she
She's
cut
like,
someone's hand off
the old
for
lady. Yeah, she's like, you get out of here. The hand falls down. I was like, yes, that's setting a tone right away. I really enjoyed that. Like, just the fact that
right.
it's not. Like, we talked about this before with the Mandalorian. It's not always like PG. Like
Mhm.
that was an intense scene. I thought they did a really good job setting that
Cut
up.
someone's hand off. When they catch that Jedi in the little bar and stuff, and she has in that scene that we've seen in the trailers all those times, where she has her lightsaber actually burning into his clothes and arms, and they
Yeah,
stop her from doing that again.
yeah,
And so it's really interesting. So they are establishing the fact that, I mean, and in their minds, and they said it a couple times, she's just trying to show off. She's trying to impress Vader and stuff like that.
yeah.
So
I think there's got to be a little more backstory between her and Obi-Wan. Don't you think? Like she seems like really hell bent on getting him, but maybe
I
she just
just
wants to move the ranks.
I just found it funny. I made notes on it that, like, why do they think Kenobi is there? What intel is she getting that he's there or even alive? It's been 10 years and no one's seen him. And
Well,
then
my
it
guess
just
is
seems like there's so much, like, they've contrived this story, how she, like, we haven't seen all the episodes and how she would know, but she seems to know more then she should, or having kind of the instinct, like the thing that kind of made me go, maybe I missed something, where we're jumping ahead to episode 2, kidnap Leia in order to attract Obi-Wan, and her reasoning is because they fought on the same side. But Bail Organa didn't do any fighting. He stayed a politician. Remember when he showed up at the temple and he's like, "What's going on?" They're like, it's get out of here, and he just left and stuff. He didn't. If they suspected him to be an insurrectionist or some kind of person working against the government, they would just remove him and his family from Alderaan. You know what I mean? They would. So I didn't understand how she would have some knowledge of Kenobi and Bail Organa.
Well, my guess is,
being friends.
I think Vader, clues them in somewhat. Like, they are working for Vader, right? So, like,
Right.
like obviously she knows his name is Anakin, right? I was surprised on that because they knew he was Anakin Skywalker.
Yeah, which I thought that, in the beginning movies, like in A New Hope, in that era, he was still relatively new, so no one knew who he was. And there's this guy in a suit, like there was some backstory stuff where they're like, "Who's this guy?" Because all the admirals and the generals are all vying for the ear of the Emperor, and here's this Darth Vader guy that came out of nowhere. Who is this person? And they're all angry. So that's why when he comes in with Tarkin, and that one guy kind of disrespects Vader, and then Vader chokes him, it's because they don't know who he is. They don't get it, and then they actually start getting it when this happens, right? They don't.
He's quite motivational that way, right? Quite motivational.
I know. Even in Rogue One, where the Imperial guy there, I forget his name, in the white suit, goes to Vader to complain that Tarkin is getting the Death Star and he isn't, and he's choking him, and he's like, don't choke on your aspirations, or don't choke on your, I forget what it was. But what that guy didn't know is that Vader respected Tarkin. He thought he was at the same level as him, so that's why, and plus the Emperor said, do as he says, and he's going to be in charge of this, and whatever else. So that's why he wasn't. Yeah.
If the Emperor gave him Tarkin the stamp of approval, Vader's going to do what he says, right? He's going to listen to the Emperor Palpatine, right? But I was surprised, like, because I don't remember her name, but she knew Anakin was Darth Vader. She
Reva, yeah,
Reva, sorry. Like, I was surprised that they would know that he was Anakin.
Right.
I was surprised that they revealed that kind of information, right? Because he's now known, the Emperor says in Revenge of the Sith, you now be known as Darth Vader, right?
Vader.
So I was surprised that. So, but my guess is the reason why she thinks he's on Tatooine, because Darth Vader said, if Anakin's from Tatooine, that's probably the last place he would go to, because why would he go where Anakin came from? So I think that's maybe how she's deducting why he might be on Tatooine.
I think she makes some reference to checking some records of something and came up with this idea, but it seems weak to me. It seemed very weak, and you're right. Like, for them to say, "Oh, by the way, he used to be Anakin," like, where would that be written anywhere? Because that would be the Emperor and his secret.
Obviously, he would have divulged that information because he's trying to find Again, this is my guess, and it's only episode 2, so there's lots of stuff that I'm sure is going to come out. But my guess, they're Inquisitors, so therefore Vader trusts them. They're his little things, minions, right? So he probably lets them know stuff that no one else knows because they're working for him. He's their master, and that's my guess is what they're doing. Or here's another. Well, obviously they would have known. They're all former Jedis or want to be Jedis. They would have known Anakin before that anyway, right? So
right. But I guess we'll find out.
It's early yet. It's episode 2, but I was surprised. I was pleasantly surprised when I saw Leia running around. Like, I had no idea Leia was going to be in it. But the teaser showed us Luke Skywalker, Obi-Wan watching him. We knew they're going to be leaving Tatooine to some city from the trailer, right? But I had no idea Leia was going to show up.
And a picture of it here, yeah.
And I was amazed. She was a fantastic actress. She was so good. Like, again, you look back to Phantom Menace, and we had the guy who played Anakin. He's a kid. Just what she's done compared to what he did, like wow, she was good.
It'll be interesting if we'll get to see the kid playing young Luke.
Luke, yeah, it would really be interesting to see how that
close up and not far away.
Yeah, exactly. And I love the fact that they showed Leia, they showed Alderaan, and all that sort of stuff, and set that up really, really well. Like I really thought, like, actually considered it's called Obi-Wan, especially episode 1. There was very little Obi-Wan. Like he had he didn't have as much screen time as everybody else, I thought, sort of thing. Like Inquisitors had lots of screen time. Of course, he had lots, but again, still really, I just really like the face. I love the fact where Obi-Wan's hiding out as a butcher. They're chopping up some animal.
That's the one thing I was thinking of, because when we see Ben Kenobi for the first time, it's in A New Hope, and for me, and even thinking now of it, my assumption is, when he saves Luke and then he takes him back to his home, my assumption is he's just hanging out there. That's what he did, and then he'd go and later on I realized he would go and check in on Luke, but he would just hang out in his little hovel and do whatever. Little did we know he was, and I got pictures. I thought this was really one thing I'll have to say Star Wars does better than anyone else is the scenery, is the stuff they do. Like, here is the little fishery thing. They actually built it right into the animal.
Yeah.
And they're on these like assembly lines cutting up this, like, looks like salmon, like giant salmon. There's Obi-Wan in the blue shirt here on the right. I couldn't get a good shot on that. So I thought that was really interesting, where it's like he wasn't just hanging out for the past, X amount of years. Like, he had a really terrible life, and Ewan McGregor did a great job of making him, and it's not overdone, but making him out to be a wrecked man.
Yeah.
Sad.
Absolutely. Yeah, defeated. Absolutely. Sad, defeated. Just, this is my life. Especially when he's confronted by the other Jedi, right? And the other Jedi confronted him, right? So you have to help. He's like, no, like it's over. We lost. Like, it's over. Like, it's done.
That is a defeated person, and that other Jedi's like, can't believe it. He's like, what? Like, the fight isn't over. Like, we have to get back into it. It's pretty amazing.
Who's he cutting the meat for? He's cutting a little slice of meat and he's wrapping it up. Who's that for?
Oh, that was for his little
camel thing?
mount. Yeah, his little camel thing. He would feed it to that when he got back there.
I must not. I was watching on an iPad in my bed, so I must have missed him feeding it to it. But
I have to point this out because I do this every time I see one in an episode. The Gonk droid right here.
Yeah.
The Gonk, and it basically was like, at the end of the day, they would put in their little coins or whatever it is, and then they would get
their money, their pay.
But it was it was like food, wasn't it? It was the little rations, like Rey.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, they get paid in food.
And then he would go and cook it, and it did that same thing. Add water, and it just bursts up. There it is, right?
Yeah.
So, yummy. And then there is eating. This scene here, it kind of reminded me of Yoda's house.
Yeah. Oh, nice comparison, Steve. Nice job.
As soon as I thought, I'm like, that's Yoda.
Oh, it's very similar to it, yes.
Yeah.
Same kind of layout.
And then again, I just like these pictures and the wide shots, the loneliness of Obi-Wan. Here he is in some cave in the middle of the Tatooine desert, eating his portion. You know what I mean? It's so sad.
So go back to that shot. Go back to that shot, Steve, or the wide shot of him sitting down. That's the only shot that I thought looked so fake.
Yeah, it doesn't look good, does it?
No, that's the only one I went, I bet they wish they had more time on this shot. Because it might get, it's a virtual background. They probably made it in Unreal Engine. And then it's just, he's obviously sitting on some kind of green stump. It's the only thing, he just doesn't look like he's there. You know what I'm saying?
It does look funny. It does look funny.
It's sort of picked that apart, but it's such a long shot. And it's a moving tracking shot too, right? So it's like, it just didn't look natural. Like the shot from behind looked fine, but that one, it looks like they went, okay, we have no more money. This is what it is going to be.
Yeah, it's a little weird. You're right. I'm just noticing that now. That's so funny. So, and I like the scene where the Jabba shows up.
Oh, wasn't that so good? I thought it was a great conversation.
And I had to leave this in because that's what he kept doing. Like, oh, I should have brought soap, and you smell,
You
and
smell, you
they're
smell
kind of
so bad.
they're
Yeah,
kind of burning each other, and he keeps going back to, no, no, really, you do stink.
yeah. I also love to like, your air conditioner's not working. Oh, you need this part. Well, I just have it right here. Well, if you want to steal my parts, maybe clean it first. Extra charge for cleaning it.
It's so
That was
funny,
hilarious.
and that's where we get. So he basically got that little toy
The
of
toy that
Luke's,
Luke was playing with in A New Hope. Yeah, I know.
right?
It's so
So
cool.
there it is. So I
Oh,
think it's
good
so.
job, Steve.
Look at that pictures. So I want that, the T16 Hopper. So, and then the other thing I thought, okay, Ewan McGregor's doing so well in this to me. Um, I thought that his feebly cowardness kind of went a little far by this second episode to me, but where he's having the nightmares, and we knew this. Everyone talked about this. It's like, is Vader going to be in it? And if they're going to be fighting, or is it going to be a flashback? But he has this flashback in the dream and wakes up. And do I have the picture here? This scene here, like he wakes up and he's like calling out for Master Qui-Gon,
Yeah,
thinking that his spirit will come to him, or like the Force Ghost, and he doesn't come. And then he's like alone, and it's so quiet too that they do in this scene. I thought it was really good. My prediction: Qui-Gon's going to come at some point.
I think
Like,
so. I think because my guess is he's not showing up because he's deserted the way. You know what I'm saying? That he's not following. He's not a practicing Jedi sort of thing. You know what I'm
yeah,
saying? Like he's given up on that lifestyle, so that's why he's not coming because he's lost his faith, sort of thing. You know what I'm saying? That's the only way I can say it. Like, I'm going to
right,
relate to like Christianity sort of thing, right? Like, he lost his way. So if he's not lost his way, how are you going to speak to your, higher power, sort
right.
of thing, right?
And you were talking about this earlier. For me, I realized, wow, he's really out of it when again that Jedi comes out of the. I thought he was going to be attacked by sand people, so I was a little disappointed. Because I wanted him to like kick some butt. Because I know in the comics and stuff, Ben or Obi-Wan would keep in shape by fighting the Tuscans. He would purposely go out and put himself in danger and then beat the crap out of them.
Well, after Boba Fett, it's gonna be harder to start beating up Tuscans because
They
they
need to
kind
get
of
back to that. Come on,
they
the
shine a
Tuscans
different
can't be
light on the
nice.
Tuscans, right? Like this is not that they're good people, but
Some
they
are good,
kind of
some are not.
they just exactly right.
Mhm.
I really like the pace of everything. I liked how he just looked so alone. I loved the fact that he just was giving up, and the Jedi couldn't make him go back, and he tried. Like he was no, it's over. Like you're saying, he was broken. He
Yeah,
lost, and everybody's gone. Like he failed. Like he trained the person who turned and wiped
and
everybody out.
didn't finish the job. Didn't
Well,
finish the
because
job.
we didn't find out until like at the end of episode 2, right? Like, and just a look of horror. Well,
Yeah,
you're talking about Obi-Wan in action. Well, he got in action in the second episode when he was forced to go dig up his lightsabers, both lightsabers, his and Anakin's, and go on this mission that what's his name, Organa. Like he couldn't say no. He
yeah.
got to the point where he couldn't say no anymore, right?
That was
So
really cool. When he was digging up the lightsabers, I was thinking, are they going to be both in there? And there you go. Yeah, and then yeah, so the parents do finally do the when Leia. Oh, I have to say, Leia's kidnapped by Flea from the Red Hot Chili
okay,
Peppers. I
I was
thought
gonna
was
say, I
funny.
was gonna ask if you knew who that was. So yeah, I love
Yes.
like he did such a good job, like such a good job.
Yeah.
He looks like an alien anyway, right?
He is one of the oddest looking guys ever. So they probably like the makeup team or the costuming probably just
But oh,
said,
you're perfect.
show up in whatever you
Yeah,
were just
show
wearing yesterday.
yeah, exactly. You're fine.
Because I bet you this is normal clothes for him if he even wears clothes. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah,
if he
he
wears a
he,
shirt.
he had a scene in Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2 too, and he was so good in that too. He's just over the top and just kind of like he
He's
really
very
worked well
odd.
for that character. I thought really
He's very,
well.
very odd.
Yeah,
But yeah, you're right. I mean, this scene where he digs up the lightsabers. So when he said that to that other Jedi, like, take this lightsaber, go in the desert and bury it and move on. And did I write down what he says? He was like, stay hidden, live a normal life.
yeah,
The war is over. And that's when I thought, I'm like, he is done. And it's funny because then when we see him in A New Hope, and then he's trying to train Luke and all that kind of stuff, and we've discussed it before. It's like Ben and Yoda were acting like bitter, defeated generals because all they were doing was saying, "You got to kill Vader. You got to kill Vader." When Luke was like, "But they're still good at him. I think I could turn him back." They're just like, "No,
No.
no."
Well, they're mad, right?
They're
They're
mad.
deep down, they're mad, right? They're mad that
Yeah,
that they were so, but they were so blinded by the Sith, like they were so blinded, like Palpatine played them like puppets. So
yeah,
they
oh
gotta
yeah,
think that their pride's
easily.
hurt. They're embarrassed. They failed miserably.
Mhm.
They helped contribute to wipe out the Jedi. Like there's a lot of responsibility there that Obi-Wan's having a hard time getting over. Quite frankly, right? Like that's a lot of
Yeah,
responsibility knowing that you had a hand on the downfall of the whole entire Jedi organization.
yeah, and if Jen was here, she would tell her theory too. I mean, it's kind of the kind of like the hubris of the Jedi Order, right? When they started putting armor on and leading military troops in and calling themselves General this and General that. That it's not the Jedi way, and they were so focused on the wrong things that they didn't see
But
the Sith coming into play.
again, and that's where you look back at the prequels now. Originally, you don't see that sort of thing, but like, when you look back now, going, "Holy crap!" Like George Lucas really showed that how manipulative that Palpatine was, and how
Mm.
much his fingers on he controlled everything. Like, I didn't realize that before, but now you look back and like, wow, like he really played everybody like stooges and puppets, like
Oh,
everything, and really
easily.
makes it a much bigger story than when I originally watched it. Like for at face value, when you look at it and you start doing a deep dive, going, "Holy crap,
Yeah.
it's big what they did!" Like,
Yeah, it's really smart. And Obi-Wan gets inspired to actually because he's telling Bail Organa, "Nah, nah, I'm not going to do it." And he gets
nah,
inspired when he sees that Jedi he turned away for help
is now
dead,
dead.
right? He's hung up. That's what we saw in the trailer as well. Except it's Disney, so they didn't have it around his neck. The the Inquisitors tied him up nicely dead instead of a noose because it's Disney, right? So
Yes, of course. His head's attached. Really. He probably half a torso or just his head on a pike or something, right? So,
right.
but they got to play a little PG. That's a little bit too extreme, probably. But he goes. But even then, Obi-Wan's so reluctant to go. Like so reluctant to go.
Yeah, he seems still kind of, and that's fine. I know that's gonna to evolve, right? Because they're really making it out like he's so rusty from being there for 10 years, and it almost feels like they set that up to say to make it so that when Riva, for some reason, is kicking his butt all over the place, or he's running from her, that it's because he's rusty and his confidence is gone. But I find that's great for the story. I get it. We were talking before we went live here, and I'm like, if I got back into Muay Thai tomorrow, I think I would have more confidence. Even though it'd be young guys kicking me in the face, I think I wouldn't lose it all. I mean, and Obi-Wan was
No.
so deep in the Force, and I know he's kind of cut himself off, like you
Yeah.
said, from the faith.
But if you're looking like, let's look at the episodes. Like there's a whole big scene we skipped over the Owen scene when the Inquisitors came and were threatening Owen,
Yes,
right? Like that was a pretty intense scene. Obi-Wan's just hiding out there and he's looking over at him, right? Like that was a pretty serious scene where again he didn't waver. Like Obi-Wan didn't even once even consider jumping into the fray. You know what I'm saying?
right,
Like it's really that's what I liked about it. It's really showing, like you said, damaged
right.
person where, and even when he gets his lightsaber and he goes to the planet and he's fighting people, he's using a blaster, Steve.
I know.
He's
Yes,
not he has a lightsaber on him. He's not pulling his light because once you pull the lightsaber out, Steve, that's what I'm
you're
thinking.
totally
When he pulls
exposed.
it out, that's when that's when the game changes, right? So right now he's down. He doesn't want to pull it out because if he pulls it out, he's back in. And right
He's
now
back
he
in.
can't be back in. So that's why I love about it because I think it's also tormenting him. He's trained and he will not draw his lightsaber. He's using a blaster, a primitive weapon that's just so what do you say in
Uncivilized.
uncivilized, right? And here he's in a blast. He didn't pull his lightsaber out and deflect the lasers back to the people, which probably much easier than trying to shoot them,
Way easier for sure.
right? So and quite frankly, like those little he could deflect it all day long, but he didn't. He's hiding.
Right.
He's cowering.
Because he's hiding. Speaking of that encounter with Owen and him, and we've seen it in the trailer, was like, oh, he must be trained, and he's like he trained his father.
Yeah.
I wrote down something
Yeah.
because it was further to the conversation, right? It was expanded conversation where Obi-Wan says something like, that Owen, we agreed that Luke would be trained at some point, and then so I guess Owen changed his mind. Like, no, we're not going to do that. It's funny. So I'm kind of torn on Owen because I always thought he was a grumpy man, right, in A New Hope. And then I'm like, okay, maybe he's trying to protect Luke. But they made kind of an agreement. But then he also says, like, when Obi-Wan says to him, is Luke okay? And then he's like, he says, you don't care if he's okay. You only care if he's showing, like, the Force.
Yeah.
And stuff like that. So I'm kind of torn. Like, is he being unfair about the whole situation, Owen? Or does he actually believe that he is protecting Luke by not allowing him to
That's what
know
it is.
the universe?
Because, well, if you train him, he's going to die. Just like, what I'm saying? Like Anakin, right? Like, he doesn't want, like, you got to think, if he's adopted this kid, he's raised him as a baby, he's now 10 years old. Like, he probably loves the kid and wants no harm to come to him, right? Like, you're going to train, are you going to, like, your daughter's 13. Oh, why don't you join the police force and learn how to, or, you're not going to do that right away, right? Like, what I'm saying? Like, that's a dangerous profession. Maybe you should try something that's not so dangerous, or, what I'm saying? Like, like when you're looking at your kid and they're 10 years old, do you want them to join the army? Probably not. Like, not there's anything wrong with joining the army. That's what they want to do. That's what they want to do. But as a parent, no parent's going, I want my kid to be in the army. You know what I'm saying? Right off the top, because there is an element of danger that in their line of work that they may not come home. Yeah, right. Definitely. Even like you hear stories about people who are married to police officers, right? And they go get called on a serious incident. Are they going to come home? There's always that worry, right? So again, I think it's this Owen same thing. This is my kid. I'm raising him as our child, even though I'm his uncle. He's my child, and then all you care about is if he's showing, because that's what he's just thinking, right? Like, he doesn't want. You can see the Inquisitors. The Inquisitors out looking for Jedi. Well, if he's showing, they're going to kill Luke, right? So you got to think there's all this. Like, he's just protecting, and the further Obi-Wan stays away from him, the more he can protect him, I think.
Yeah, I mean, and he did show his character a little bit, Owen. I mean, when Reva is threatening him, like, "Oh, do you know where Jedis are?" And she was basically going to kill him. I was like, "If a one comes out, I'm going to kill him." And he didn't move. Okay, he didn't move. He still has his hands on his waist.
Did nothing. He did nothing because he's not playing that game. Like I'm a normal person. A normal person can help you.
And she was going to kill him until
she was
that. The one brother stopped him, or stopped her.
Yeah.
So
I like the guy that had it. I don't know his name, but I liked him a lot. Like, but there's a lot of.
Is he like fifth brother? I forget what he is.
I can't remember, but I really like just even them the inner conflict between those people, the Inquisitors, right? Like, there's the dark side. Palpatine set up and he talked about his master and how he killed him, right? Like. They're always about gaining power. There's no difference in the Inquisitor. They want to gain power. She wants to be better. She wants to be the Grand Inquisitor. She wants to be number 2. She wants to be one sitting next to Vader. Like, she wants to be the go-to person. Like, they're all fighting for power. So, like, you can't even trust them. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Like, they'll turn on each other, no problem. I think they're awful people. You know what I'm saying?
It's part of the job for them, right? It's like
they're tracking down kids and killing kids.
They're individual, and the Jedi are about and they're killing kids,
right? It doesn't matter if the Jedi's if he's 9 years old, he's showing, right? Like, there you go, done.
I just wanted to show this picture of Alderaan that we actually see. Sort of for the first time, I guess.
We haven't really seen Alderaan that much, have we? Because we seen him before, and I think it was Revenge of the Sith, and of course we've seen it from the outside in A New Hope for a little bit.
Yeah, and then for a little bit, and it's these kinds of scenes that made me go, "Oh, yeah," like, because when we saw it get blown up in A
Saw it
New
get blown
Hope,
up.
it's like, "Oh, wow, that's terrible," but you're not really connected, but when you see how beautiful
And you go,
it
oh, that's
was
all
and the
gone,
people,
and they're all dead.
you're like, "Oh, that's really sad.
Yeah,
That's really sad." It's too bad, it's too bad that Flea wasn't on the planet when it went, but who would play the bass?
he would.
So
Do, 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 do.
So, and then the other scenery, I love this. I can't get enough of, and I know I go on and on about this crap all the time. This
No,
Blade Runner scene,
yes. It looks so good. It's a bit of Hong Kong, Blade
yes.
Runner. I love the wires everywhere, and that's not a good place to go hang out. Like everybody, this whole scene, I reminded me of what's it called? Friggin' John Wick. When all the
Oh
mercenaries are after
yeah,
John Wick, like all the bounty hunters, it just reminded me of that so much. Like again, it's not copy; it's the same kind of thing where all the
yeah.
bounties are after Obi-Wan. But I loved how it played out.
I
It
love the
was fun. It was
influence.
exciting. It created some tension, and now Obi-Wan's on a run when everybody's after him. I love that the one bounty hunter. He looked like some kind of dragon head sort of thing, and he's the one that had a big machine gun after Obi-Wan on top of the building. Then he got
Oh
shot in the
yeah,
chest.
there is, and that's the thing. Obi-Wan, I like this scene when he comes off the transport. He looks like a lost tourist,
Yeah.
and I actually titled this picture "Lost Obi-Wan," so I knew what to click on. So I just thought it was really interesting. And this scene where you hear someone go, spare some credits, and the helmet,
Oh yes.
and then I was like, no way! And there is one of the clones. Look
Yeah.
at that glorious beard on him too.
Uh, not quite as stylish as yours, maybe, but
Oh, it's
yes,
better. He's got the
he
long
looks like
hair,
he's. That was a great scene. I loved it. I
and he
loved
gives
it.
him some credits. And he must be like, was he kind of blind or something, or
I don't think he's blind.
no? But
No,
he didn't recognize.
no, he didn't recognize Obi-Wan. Obviously,
I
he served under a different Jedi. Probably he probably wouldn't
I
know
like
Obi-Wan.
I like that after everything else, Obi-Wan was still kind of like loyal to the troopers, where he was just like, here you go. Like he could see that, because he can't get the Jedi out of him, right? Different
Yeah.
times in the episodes, you would see Obi-Wan wanting to do something, like when that guy in the little fish market was paid half rations,
Yes.
and Obi-Wan wanted to say something, but he can't
Can't.
because he'll be exposed, and he wants to say something here and say something there, and he can't. And that's again too where there's the moral dilemma, right? That obviously our hero is going to find out. It's like, does he, does he turn his back on his belief, the faith, and the people around him? Or does he? I mean, he kind of does go back and hide him, because then we don't see him until A New Hope. But still, for my point, I'm saying, oh, can I point this out too before we move on? I wrote it down too. Except for Tatooine a little bit, how many aliens did you see anywhere? It was like they didn't have any budget, and 99% of everything you saw were humanoids, like were
Yeah.
humans.
Yeah.
Everything else, like you would see 100 humans and maybe one alien,
Yeah. That's
or
true.
none.
Well, there's a lot of extras, and they had suits. And maybe they spent the budget. But you are right. There wasn't a lot
Like
of
nowhere.
there's a robot bounty hunter. There was the dragon face bounty hunter. A
There was like
couple of
Forlom.
fleas henchmen, where one was like a Darth Maul species type thing. Right. I don't.
Right.
I couldn't see the other two because the other two were pretty fast. But yeah, you're right. There wasn't a lot of
There was
aliens.
hardly anything. It was just weird. It was just a side note. It was still good, but now that you're pointing out that I didn't see, with Obi-Wan in the cave, and then when I was looking at that picture when I was up, I'm like, wow, this this looks bad. Maybe it was just like they blew most of their budget on whatever, and they're like, ugh, like, can't we? Is there masks around we can stick on people?
Maybe, who knows? Again, I didn't find that didn't bother me. Like, you're looking for that little piece of Star Wars. Obi-Wan was enough for really to tie me in. The clone troopers were able to tie me in. Um, it was similar, but again, so different. Like, I even thought, like, when the train or the sand speeder thing, or the train Obi-Wan was on, go back to get his little horsey thing or camel thing. Like that was from Book of Fett, where that's the first time you really see that type of thing, right? Which I
Yeah.
really like that.
Yeah, the
That's,
transports.
that had that, yeah, the transports. Yeah, that felt really good. And let's talk about like the guy who was pretending to be a Jedi on this
Yes,
planet, right?
I
Like,
was just about to get there.
okay, like, that was so good.
Yeah, he was. I wasn't sure at first what he was doing. I thought he was setting them up, but then it turns out he was just a con man pretending to be a Jedi.
But he was helping them. He
He
was
was.
helping them, but at the same time, make a profit
He was
off of doing it
scamming
too.
them.
So he is a good guy, but he's not a Jedi. But I love the whole scene when Obi-Wan came to him and sat down with him. I hear you're a Jedi.
Yeah, and when he ends up meeting up with him when Reva's after him and tells him how to get away and stuff. And here's where the humor is, and the actor is a good comedy actor, where he was like, because Obi-Wan's like, why should I believe you? Because
Yeah.
he's a con man. He's like, okay, I'm trying to make amends on things. He's like, have I done bad stuff? Yes. Am I sorry for it? Sometimes. Do I like credits? Yes.
Yes.
But I'm trying to make a change. It was so funny. I was like,
Yeah.
okay, there
It
it
was
is.
so good. Yeah, I really like that part. And again, I want to go back to this Leia actress. Like the fact that she again, they're showing how strong of a character Leia was, and just even showed it as a young age, right? Like she wasn't taking crap from anybody, right?
Yeah, like when he rescues her, she kick him in the shins when he
Yeah,
comes into the cell or
yeah,
something? And
she was like questioning everything, just how smart she was, and that's probably her
yeah.
force ability that allows her to be that smart. I'm guessing, like
Well,
you know what I'm
she's
saying,
like
like
reading minds, I
yeah,
think, like with her
that's
cousin,
yes, oh yeah, because yeah, absolutely right. Which
but she
I thought
doesn't know it. Yeah.
she doesn't know it exactly, so it's not like moving things, but you can tell it just how smart she is, how much she can read, like even like she's quite good strategy wise too, sort of thing. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Right.
like she was just how smart she was. And I thought they did a really good job having a young girl, like 10 years old, pulling that off and making it believable and really builds on that the Leia strong female type character where she's not a helpless, even when she's captured, she's not a helpless damsel in distress, even
Right.
at 10 years old, which I thought was
Yeah.
really, really good.
Yeah. I they didn't press it too far
No,
because everyone loves Princess Leia so much, or you know what I mean, or like Carrie Fisher so much that they didn't overdo it
yeah,
because of projecting it onto Leia. But yeah, she was really, really good. And it kind of like, I always saw Star Wars as Luke was the Jedi, Han was the pilot, the swashbuckler or
yeah,
whatever you want, a scoundrel, and Leia was always that rebel leader, right? So, her strength was there, Han's was there, Luke was here. And it all kind of worked together and stuff like that. So, uh, yeah, I mean, I thought they did, because I mean, she was like her and Luke were supposed to be like 18, 19, 20, something like that, when A New Hope starts. And she's already been like in the Senate and she's doing this and doing that. Um, I don't know if I was Bale, I'd be letting my daughters doing that. I'd be so scared we'd go back to the whole don't join the military.
don't join
But
the military type thing, right? Exactly, right. So that's why I think Owen had attachment to Luke.
right.
How can you not, right? If you adopt a kid, take him in, you're gonna have build up attachment.
But
But
yeah.
sorry, go ahead.
No, 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 you go
I was
ahead.
just
I was
gonna
just
say
gonna
like we're like 53 minutes into it, like just the whole like on the rooftop, the whole thing that whole chase scene was so good. I thought like she's doing the parkour thing, jumping from the building to building, trying to catch up to him, right?
yeah, I thought it was good. I thought it was a little silly, but it
It's a
was.
little. I just liked how it built up. I thought it built up really nicely to that big confrontation. She's there. She has her lightsaber drawn. The ship hangar sort of thing. Again,
Yeah,
Obi-Wan doesn't draw his lightsaber at all, right? Hiding out, and then
he's
she
still
starts
hiding.
spilling the beans and saying anything, and then the whole thing, like, and then they're flying away, and he's thinking like he's now like, oh, Anakin's alive.
Yeah, he's
Anakin's
alive.
alive. Goes Anakin, and then the whole thing is like, boom. Vader's eyes open up in the battle tank, right?
Yeah.
Like
Hey,
that was
what did you think of this right here,
what I
where
think of it.
Reva
I have no. I thought I'm not surprised. I thought it was awesome. Like she's a bad cookie. This one.
I was shocked. This made me think when I saw it. I'm like, wow, okay. I thought, holy Snoke.
Holy Snoke. Well, I think they're setting up really early on, like even from the teaser trailers, like you can tell that she's gonna be the big antagonist in the whole entire series. Like
Right.
you
Yep.
could tell because they showed her more than anybody else. I know they showed the other Inquisitors, but she's gonna be the big bad one.
Sort
That's
of.
gonna be
Sure.
yeah. And they said that. So again, how do you make her the big bad one? You kill the other one who's on top of her. I mean,
I didn't expect it though.
oh, I didn't expect it either. But again, I wasn't surprised when it happened. Going, oh, here we go. Like she's going to be the one that's going to be
Right.
leading the way. And she's going to be taking over, and she's going to be the big badass. Really,
And
I
you were
think.
saying too at the very end of this, when he's thinking about, oh my God, Anakin's alive, we
And
get
then
to see him.
boom. And then, this is the close up in the eyes and coming out. I was like, and then the breathing. I was like, oh, I loved how this episode ended. Like,
Yeah.
now I'm going, okay, crap, I have to wait till next week. Well, I was very thankful there wasn't a third episode because I would have had to watch. You can't end like that and not watch the next one.
I know you're like, no.
So now he knows, like Anakin knows, or Darth Vader knows, like there's a connection there now. So,
Yeah.
oops.
Yeah. I like this, and I know we've seen this before. I've seen some memes with this little screen, but I kind of like this. It was kind of like without using the I don't know what you call those things, like what Mandalorian was using, like the bounty kind of discs
Pucks. Yeah.
and stuff
The
like
pucks.
that.
Yeah.
This was just popped up on the screen. It was a little different. I just kind of liked some of the details. For some reason, I really liked the detail on that for some reason.
Well, different time too. Like this is how many years before
Oh yeah.
Mandalorian? So the technologies might not be there as well,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm sure
very
even
cool.
space technology changes, but yeah. So first of all, the first two episodes, I am pleasantly like we were
Yeah.
talking before we started recording. Like to me, so far, I know it's only 2 episodes deep. I enjoyed this more than I liked any Mandalorian season so far. I don't
Yeah.
know why,
Really.
but I really like Mandalorian's fantastic. Don't get me wrong, it's awesome. But so far, like this is for when it comes to Star Wars, this one I really enjoyed it. Maybe this is the slow burn, but I think Ewan McGregor's
Right.
an amazing actor, and I think he's doing such a good job with this. Like he's totally different than anything you've seen before with him as Obi-Wan. Like you're saying, he's broken, and his eyes when he was in that hangar, and she's saying that Anakin, Darth Vader,
Yeah.
he's alive, and the look on his face, like everything's changing.
Yeah. Yeah. He was. Yeah. I think Ewan McGregor's portrayal of Obi-Wan is really kind of the solid base of these 2 episodes, right? It's whenever he's on the screen, like his scenes are the best because there's so much going in or going on, and he's hardly saying anything in any of these scenes.
Yeah.
But he's just, you can see the trauma. And we've talked about this, right? We know that they probably have PTSD, or some of the clones, right? We're like, oh, they have PTSD and stuff like this. And right now we see broken Obi-Wan. Later on, we see people might disagree with us, bitter, want to get revenge Obi-Wan while training Luke to kill Vader, that he couldn't do himself or Yoda or anyone because he's Darth Vader. So,
well, he thought he did the job. Like originally when he left him there to die, right?
I know, but if he would have just, I know it was like, oh, I couldn't do it, so I'll just let him burn slowly to death. He paid for it, but we wouldn't have any movies if he killed him.
Exactly.
But, so yeah, no, I wouldn't. For me, it's not the level of Mandalorian, but Ewan McGregor puts it up there. Like just him, what he's doing is amazing. The sceneries, like we've got to look at Tatooine again. Sorry, everyone. Tatooine is Star Wars, which I love. Tatooine. We got a great look at Alderaan, which I've seen it in pictures or in like what it was supposed to look like, but it's so cool, so nice. This thing that's this kind of style always gets me. It's always my favorite. Yeah, so we got got to see Leia, young Leia, and it's very cool. And of course, like Vader. So they didn't waste any time of saying he's here.
No, exactly, right? Well, everybody knew that Hayden Christensen signed on. Of course, he's going to be playing Darth Vader. Just they didn't waste any, like you're saying, they just jumped right into it right away. Like, what a great way to end the episode. Boom, his eyes open up. He feels them, and you hear the breathing, the breathing, the breathing. It goes a black breathing. It's like, here we go, right? I thought they set the pace really good. I'm looking forward to next Friday.
Yes. I just want to, before we move on, maybe we'll watch the trailer, but I just want to remind everyone to make sure you hit like and also subscribe to the channel. It really helps us out. And be sure to follow us on our social media, which is, again, YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. And if you want to collaborate, have a promotion, have a news tip, or just want to say hi, you can email us at contact@starwarsreporter.com. So let me pull up. I'm just going to pull up.
So, Steve, you want to rate it? Let's give it a mark out of 10. Obi-Wan, first 2 episodes. What do you give it out of 10?
I give it an 8 out of 10.
That's solid.
That is, yeah.
That's 80%. I'm going to give it 9.
You're going to give it 9? Okay.
I'm going to give it 9. I liked it that much. Like, I was tired last night, and I didn't even blink, and I just, like, I didn't, I was really attached. I just loved how they're building the story. So what's this? This is Andor?
This is Andor. Let me get her started.
Something we've been waiting for so long for.
Yeah, and you know what? I'll get into it after, but so much potential of that underworld stuff that I like so much in here. But here we go. Yeah. Here's Andor. This guy makes me laugh. That's what I do every morning.
Clone Troopers.
Oh, I love it.
They're so proud of themselves. So fat and satisfied. They're everywhere.
There's those Death Troopers. Me now. There she is. Mon Mothma.
Soon enough. These days will end. There will be no rules going forward. People are standing up.
So cool.
That's what a reckoning sounds like.
Love the logo.
Yeah, that's awesome. August 31st. I was not paying attention, obviously, and didn't realize that was going to be popping off so fast. August.
Yeah. It's so it's gonna be a little break in between Obi-Wan and this. It makes sense because, like I said, I seen the making of this way before Obi-Wan even started, so not surprised.
I know.
But yeah, I this is my first time really I watched it once on my phone. I hate watching on my phone because it's so small, right? And there's other chatter going on, so I didn't get a chance to really appreciate it like I did right now. Like that looks awesome.
It looks so good. And I'll just point this out. Not one alien in that entire trailer. Not one. It was all. I just find it funny that it's Star Wars, but there wasn't. But there were ships, and there was this, and there was that. It was very. It again, like the whole stormtroopers thing was like that fascism thing, right? Like you know what it is, the politics. Like,
yeah,
I don't want to say it, but and again, it's the beginning, of the rebellion. And so they're going door to door to catch these people. And it's that scene you see in the black and white movies, where they open the door and there they are outside the door. It's very creepy, spooky feeling, right? It's depressing. It's really great.
It had a really ominous feeling to it.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Like when you're watching all the other ones, you're like, ooh, like that's like, ooh, it's dark. You know what I'm saying? Like, like the whole bells, ringing. It's warning bells. Like the Empire's coming. The Empire's coming. Right?
Mhm.
Like that's what it's all about. Like even they have like those primitive people. They're watching the ship come down crashing. Right? Like, oh no, that it's it's spreading to other places who aren't involved with this kind of stuff. Right? So it definitely has a really good eerie feeling. Like I know you were always hoping it was gonna be a little more dark, right? And
Yeah.
that first teaser gives a really like there was no jokes, there was no happiness. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It was quite serious, a quite serious tone.
Yeah. I I hope we get a lot of kind of like the city scenes, like the intrigue and spy stuff that we saw in Rogue One, where we saw Cassian, and in that movie he wasn't a nice guy until the end, right? Like he was doing the mission, like when he's in, I don't know what city they're in, and his contact is hurt, and when the stormtroopers
Yep.
spot
Yeah.
them, well, this guy can't run, so he
So
kills him and takes off. I was like,
can't
wow, this wasn't a Star Wars movie. He just murdered someone because it would blow the whole thing
blow the
open.
thing exactly. 'Cause the guy will squeal. The guy will squeal for his life, right? So
Yeah.
you get rid of all
So I
of
hope we
this
see
end.
that. I hope we see some of that stuff. I
Well, I
think it'll
imagine
be,
we would.
yeah.
It gives you a definitely like it won't be anything like it, but it definitely gave me an Inglorious Bastards type feeling to it.
Yeah, okay, that's what I was trying to think of.
Yeah,
And if they can even come close to the same feeling that Rogue One had in this series, it'll be a hit, because if they can match that, because Rogue One was very much that feel too,
yeah,
right?
absolutely, and it is all that kind of feel in a Star Wars movie, right? Like it was. Yeah, I think again, it looks like they did a good job. I'm excited. Like I was really surprised it's coming out in August. So going, okay, well, we don't have to wait long for it. So because Obi-Wan's only 6 episodes, right?
Yes.
So we
Yeah.
got another month. So we'll have to wait a little while. Any word on Bad Batch second season when that might be coming out?
Nothing, but I mean, it's still what we have, a couple more days left of the celebration, but I haven't heard anything.
I know they're making
Not a
it.
thing.
That
They're
I
making
know.
it. So I just wonder if it's because Filoni is, doing 600 other things. So
Maybe. I don't
um
know what, like, you look at Marvel. Marvel has something come out every 2 weeks, it seems like, right?
yeah.
Like
Yeah, it's
they
very
got
true.
like they're pumped again. But again, I think because of their box office success, like the Doctor Strange Multiverse of Madness is still #1 and still cleaning up everywhere, right? So obviously
Mm,
it has that momentum, right? They haven't,
right.
Star Wars kicked themselves in the butt when they made Rise of Skywalker, not Rise of Skywalker, sorry, Last Jedi, then Rise
Last
of
Jedi.
Skywalker, right? We
Yeah.
weren't reviewed very well for audiences and stuff. So, they're trying to make ground on that, right?
Hmm.
So,
I just want to play one more trailer, and this is maybe this is the Willow trailer. I know you're not a fan of fantasy, but
I don't mind
I'm so
fantasy.
excited for this.
I haven't watched this trailer yet, so
It's really funny because they released this during Star Wars Celebration, but it was such a huge thing for me, the first movie when it came out. But here we go.
There is a story of a child destined to be an empress, and the unlikely hero who would protect her.
There is a balance between all things. Light and shadow. Good and evil. When that balance is upset, the universe corrects.
The world needs you again. It needs your magic.
Into the unknown. That's where we must go.
I'd probably give that a shot. I didn't hate the movie. The movie was fine. I thought it was decent, a good movie. I'd probably give that a shot too.
Yeah, it didn't look too bad.
Yeah.
So yeah, it'll be interesting. I just remember seeing that this is in a time before Peter Jackson's Lord of the Rings or Game of Thrones, if you like that. So
Never watched an episode.
yeah, I think I watched the first season of Game of Thrones, and then I was kind of done, or I got busy, and then I just didn't care anymore. But I just love this film. Like the character of Mad Mardigan, played by Val Kilmer. It's too bad he couldn't have reprised his role somehow in this. But I don't know if you've seen the documentary
I have
on him. I mean, he is not in great shape at all.
No, he can't talk, right? So
yeah, and there is that as well. But Mad Mardigan, I always loved that. It was when I was playing Dungeons and Dragons when I was a kid and stuff. There was more than one occasion that a character I made was inspired by Mad Mardigan, and then sometimes Willow. So with the halflings and whatever else. But yeah, it was really great. Now the special effects for fantasy was terrible. This monster close to the end of the movie in the original film. Oh, like the stop motion was terrible.
I just watched it not when they released it on Disney Plus, and I didn't. Does it stand the test of time? Well, no, but I still appreciate how good it was for the time it did it
for the
in.
time. Yes,
like even like the whole scene. That was the movie where they had the little people on the wagon. They kept trying to stay on the wagon, right? Or was that a different movie?
No, it was like the little pixies.
Yeah.
And they kept falling off.
Yeah. I thought they did an amazing job. Like you got to think when they made that back in the 80s, it was a really good job to pull that off.
It was just that monster at the end that came from the. I thought, that if it was darker, if the fight scene where it was darker or something,
it would hide it a lot more. Absolutely,
right? Because special effects in the dark would be better.
But shooting that at night though is very expensive. At night you have no lights, so therefore you're bringing lights in. So that it slows production down lots. Like I remember when they were shooting the first Terminator movie. And the original scene, when they get blasted, when they come into the 80s, the time vortex. Reese gets up and he runs around. Like originally, like James Cameron had to fight to get that at nighttime. The production, the studio actually wanted them to shoot in the day because the nighttime cost so much more money. So but he did it anyway, without permission. Wow. Yeah, little thing. Wow. Behind the scenes things, but yeah, so that's probably why that was shot during the day, because therefore cheaper.
I actually want to go watch Willow. What time is it? Maybe not tonight, but I do want to watch it. I actually watched it a couple months ago with my youngest daughter. She had never seen it, and I just never know what she's gonna like, right? Because
did she like it though?
Because we're all dumb and our stuff, right? So
did she like it?
I couldn't believe it. Yeah, she was like, "Oh yeah, it was cool." And stuff, because I kept saying, "Oh, if you don't want to watch this anymore, you're not going to hurt my feelings." She goes, "No, I like it." So, like, I did that. I showed her like a couple years ago. We watched E.T. and I kept saying, "Is it okay?" She said, "Yeah." And at the end, that long, sad, drawn out scene, not drawn out, but that long scene of Elliot saying bye.
Yeah.
And everyone in the theater's bawling their eyes out and stuff. She was crying. It was so awesome. I was like.
Effective storytelling is effective storytelling, right? Mm-hmm. Whether that's the thing is, hopefully the visual effects don't distract you from the movie, right? And that's the whole thing when they went into those movies. That's why Jaws is so good. You don't see the shark because they wanted to see the shark more, but it didn't work. So hey, it's just too distracting. Let's just get rid of the shark, right? So like little things that filmmakers are doing stuff like you just got to tip your hat off to people back then to pull those things off, right? Like
right, because I think. Nowadays, I think being able or having or inventing or creating these technologies is great and a curse, I think, because now we can do these things in green screens and things look better and on and on and on. But now sometimes it seems like studios are relying too much on the special effects and don't care about the story, character development, characters, what they're talking about.
I'm going to hold up Phantom Menace for that, right? When we did the big deep dive, like too much special effects, not enough story building, right?
Right.
and character development sort of thing. So
Right.
there was that there too, but again, it was overboard compared to the other ones. I thought
Yeah, for sure.
they're doing
And
stuff for the sake of doing things, right? Yeah,
right. And that's all I care about nowadays. I think I shouldn't say it's special effects are easy, because I'm sure they're not. But if, like you just said, tell a good story, and if you're looking back at movies like we were just talking about, like E.T. or Willow, they're telling a great story. And I mean, there
Which
wasn't
makes
much special effects in E.T., and there was a little bit in Willow, but yeah,
it's all about storytelling, right? Storytelling will help everything else be more acceptable. If you buy the storyline, if you believe the storyline, ET was hard because you had to make that puppet look real. They did a good job, right? Like Yoda, like making Yoda, like that's one big thing. You look at the prequels when they went to a CGI Yoda, the fans didn't like it because it didn't move like the puppet did. Like the puppet's ears would wiggle around a bit more, right? Because it was made of rubber. So that's why when
oh
they
yeah,
did,
yeah,
that's when they did the when they did when they did like the sequel trilogy, they made the CGI Yoda still CGI, but they made it respawn like the puppet did. His ears, it looked more like a puppet compared to what it did in the prequel trilogy, because the fans weren't accepting the perfect Yoda. They wanted the more not so perfect. Because like what Frank Oz did with Yoda, that puppet was amazing, because that could have really broke the movie. Empire Strikes Back could have broke it
oh,
if you didn't believe it was a puppet.
if
Like if
if
you
you
didn't
didn't,
believe, yeah,
yeah, if you did it wrong, for
if you
sure.
did it wrong, Jabba the Hutt could have been a disaster. It could look so stupid, but they pulled it off and make it look so realistic, right? So it's not easy. It's not easy. So ET hard, I thought, and you're right. Like the Rancor looked much better as the stop motion. Well, actually, they did a lot of puppetry, right? The puppet,
Right.
it was all puppets, right? What they did for that most of the time. But the Tauntaun looked fantastic. The AT-ATs look fantastic with the stop frame. But it's a little bit different when you're doing live action, people interacting with a big dragon monster.
Yeah. And yeah, I mean, I remember watching Return of the Jedi recently, making a joke to my wife. It's like when Yoda dies, you're like, wow, so Oscar performance by a puppet? You know what I mean? Like, I maybe not Oscar, but it just like you're watching a puppet die
And you're getting crushed.
and you're getting
I remember
crushed
crying.
by it.
I cry every time Yoda dies. I know he's going to die. I cry every time.
But Frank Oz does it so well, and it's
Yeah.
a puppet. It's a puppet, and you're an adult now, and you know it's a puppet.
Yeah,
and he does such a great job still.
I knew it was a puppet when I was a kid when it first came out, but it's still
Right.
like,
He
again,
still got you.
if you believe, because they're doing such a good job. If you believe, you'll believe. Like, and the story's good, and the puppetry's good. It's not distracting. You buy into it, right?
Yeah.
Yoda's real.
Yeah. Oops. So yeah, good storytelling, and right now it's looking good for Obi-Wan. And I'm looking forward to the storytelling in Andor, because dark. It's not happy, right? I guess they're going to have some hope, right? Because that's what rebellions are built on.
Well, it's going to lead
I'm
up to that sort of
quoting.
thing, but it might not even end well. It might end off with some tragic thing that's propels them for people to join. Who knows? It'd be interesting to see. Right now, I'm enjoying Obi-Wan. I look
Yeah.
forward to episode 3 and Andor in August.
In August, right away. It's awesome. But with that, I think that's all we have for tonight. Thanks to everyone who is joined us in the chat, watching now or watching later. And be sure to check us out on our social media. Make sure you hit like and subscribe to the channel. It really helps us out. It makes Todd not cry, and we don't want to see him cry because he's got ugly cry. It's very
Ugly
scary.
cry. Ugly.
And we will see you on the next episode. And don't forget,